What's up, everybody? We are back. This is Island Sky Astro. Welcome to my channel. I hope that everybody is doing great out here. I am here to talk about the astrology for Aquarius for the month of March of 2023. If you are in the chat, if you could do me a really big favor and let me know if I'm echoing or not. I know that that was an issue in the last two videos, and I apologize. Make sure that you go to my podcast if you're really wanting to get all of the information without the echoing in the background. I managed to get the podcast out without all of that. So I wanted to just mention that briefly. If you are here for the very first time on my channel, welcome. My name is Island Sky. I'm an astrologer and numerologist. I focus on forecasts like this one, where I give you, based on your rising and sun sign, the upcoming predictions of what is happening. What's the pulse of the month? And for you guys, Aquarius, this is going to be all about money and productivity. That is the conversation that you are going to be engaging, or more likely going to be engaging into. I want to briefly mention that all of my predictions are based on the whole sign house chart. I am looking at different types of charts, but when I am giving predictions, I find that this is the most accurate sort of picture according to your own chart and what is happening. So let's dive right into it. The pulse of the month actually starts a little bit before March. For you guys, this is going to have to do with that new moon that is unfolding for you in your first house. I'm going to pop up the chart here real quick so that you guys can follow along. We are going to be taking a look at a chart for February 20th. That is when the new moon is unfolding in Pisces for you guys. So what does all of this mean? And so if I said first house, I apologize. I am still trying to orient myself with everything else that's going on. So this new moon in Pisces is unfolding for you guys in your money house. This has to do with the subjects of just a new fascination or a new inspiration, some kind of new productivity or some kind of new project that also involves money making that is going to renew your faith. This is definitely at a sort of a bird's eye view of what I'm seeing for many of you. What is sort of starting this month is that you are taking a look at a version of yourself that's a lot more realistic, a realistic approach versus an unrealistic version of yourself. I will dive a little bit more deeper into it. This will also have to do with Neptune. However, what is happening here is that for many of you, what this new moon means is that you are being inspired and hungry for more when it comes to a new project, a new money situation that may evolve during the month of 2023. It's really exciting, because I feel like many of you have changed your point of view about money quite a bit. There's been a lot that you have found out, and that is what this new moon in Pisces is actually really validating for you guys as well. And so when we take a look at what else is happening with this new moon in your second house is that during the time of this new moon, Mercury is going to be in a square with Uranus. And this is a fascination. This is a new brilliant idea. This is something that you are coming across that is really inspiring you. And the fascination takes you into more depths about money or anything that has to do with productivity. You just up leveling at some level. Did I spell productivity wrong? Of course I did. That is so funny. Well, you guys, don't mind me. I'm just, spelling things wrong over here, but you know what I meant, productivity. And so, so there is sort of a curiosity, but I would say that's more than a curiosity. When we have Mercury, Uranus coming into a square, you really want to break through onto the other side. You're hungry for something more. There is sort of this mental simulation that's going on when it comes to how much more can you find out, how much more money could be made, what kind of money do you want to make? Those are the types of things that I believe that you could be taking a look at during the month of March 2023. The conversation starts to evolve because there is a focus here and a mental energy that is evolving. And why is that? Because at the time of this a particular new moon and the pulse for coming strongly into March of 2023 is that many of you are going to have your mind on a new ambition. That's what it looks like. There could be sort of a new ambition that is coming up. And this is going to happen between Mercury being in your first house. So it has to do with your image, or you maybe even just portraying yourself for once in a way where you really are in control. This will have a lot to do with that as well. Or just simply you being able to let a more humorous or more even a sarcastic side out, or a version of yourself that you find to be a lot more true about who you are. This ties into it as well as you diving into maybe even some parts where money becomes now a new level of competition with um, another group of people, or something that you find that you want to take this on. This is a challenge for you, or you're wanting to have this type of competition or this kind of challenge in your life because Mars is in your fifth house. And so this is a really interesting energy and a pulse. And that's what I'm seeing here that you're going to be diving into when it comes to March of 2023. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Neptune in your second house. Let's talk about that, because obviously the new moon in Pisces, it's unfolding in your second house. Pisces ruled by Neptune. Neptune is in your second house, has been here for a while. And let's talk about some of the influences and recap on this, okay? 3 things that I believe that you have been working on, and the conversation that is evolving this month, and even bringing you more awareness around some of these 3 themes that I would like to mention for you. The first one is Neptune in the second house has influenced and changed the way that you view money, how you view money and material things. They've changed by maybe even experiencing some losses in this area of your life, and changes that you did not expect, that changed you as a person by not having these material aspects available, or having things being taken away, whether that was via another person, whether that was you just simply, just losing something in a material sense that you didn't expect, and there's maybe a different version of it that you had to dive into or create, but at some level it changed the way that you're viewing money. The second thing is letting money define you as a theme. This is something that has also changed, that I'm seeing, and it continues to change here. You're opening up, especially in March of 2023, to this part, and this most important part, I believe, for many of you, because it looks like how you viewed yourself and money has to do with past circumstances that have led you to always feel a certain way about it. You may had to protect yourself, or you always felt like in order for you to keep certain material possessions or certain type of productivity that has like a certain image attached to it, these are the types of things that I believe that you had to reorient at some level, because it wasn't actually providing you any kind of worth. Instead, it was putting you into this definition that you started to maybe dislike at some level in a big way. And the more that you had let this maybe define you, it looks like, Neptune in the second house, it can have that influence here. You start to realize that you actually have to detach from this image. You have to detach from the material possessions, and you have to become a lot more aware of what the definition of worth is really for you. And gaining this kind of awareness here can help you undo the ego part. And it may have not even be so much stuff that you really wanted in your life, but somehow they create an attachment. And so there is an detachment and an undoing of the ego, and a repositioning of the path of what's actually healthier for you, what's actually needed and essential. This is really, really key to, and worth mentioning, because I feel like a lot of you have maybe even dealt, whether that is you or even other people that are attached to money situations like relationships where addictions or escapism via money. There could have been a lot of temptation here. There could have been maybe temptations from the past that reminded you of certain relationship dynamics that this is not the way to go about it. This is not a way, and you have to reroute this. And there is sort of this, inner knowing that may have emerged. And especially this month, that is the second theme that I'm seeing, that there is even more of a calling to reroute your faith and to reroute how you are making, money, but it has to align with your faith. And that is a huge, huge part for many of you. The more you detach from physical things in your life, you will start to notice this month. The invitation is that you will even make, everything that you didn't even think you could, money wise, possession, material aspects, and even productivity. It'll start to rise by simply you understanding that you don't have to stay attached to things anymore the way that it used to be. So that's the second theme. The third theme here that is kind of rebranding the money subject for many of you is holding yourself back because you always felt like money defined how free you actually can be. This is a really interesting aspect, I feel, that you could be coming across, especially this month, defined on, whether you are now seeing that, beyond certain relationship dynamics that may have tied into this, certain maybe even risky business adventures or agreements that seemed super, enticing, something that you may have gotten into from the past that now you realize, you know, that doesn't define how free you really actually are. Because if you're doing things based on your faith today, you realize that, this is a lot more in alignment with you, and you actually create abundance and manifest things or attract things into your life, even in the material aspect that you really love or really like. And as a result, because you're more in that frequency with the things that you like, you find it easier to make the kind of money or have the kind of, money goals and execute on those goals a lot easier. So Neptune here is going to give a lot of validation into these three themes. That's what I'm seeing. Now, I want to move on to another subject that I believe is a very interesting one for many of us, because Gemini, Mars in Gemini, which has been transiting here for almost 7 months. We're nearing 7 months at this point. Gemini here is been transiting through your fifth house since August of 2022. And that's a big one, you guys, because this is you definitely redefining how you really want to show up for yourself and how you want to show up with being you, the unapologetic version of yourself. There have been some things that may have happened that now you have been grappling with, understanding. Mars in Gemini, a very intellectual approach to understanding yourself. But then as a result, you are communicating a version about yourself that is you. Okay. You are no more taking the back seat here. You are leading with your own needs and your own healthy version and your happiness first. And that is what I believe ultimately the completion of Mars in Gemini this month is going to be. Mars is going to be in your fifth house until about the 19th. That is when it starts to switch over to Mars in Cancer. The energy moves out here. You will find that you have really worked harder on your happiness, and the rewards and the results will be shown to you by the end of March of 2023. It looks like that you are so much more clear, or so much more in alignment with the things that you want, but you really, really want, and then demanding them, right? Like really standing up for yourself, demanding those things in a way. Now, if anybody has children out there, I'm sorry, my voice is cracking a little bit. I'm still dealing with this sickness from last week. Now, if you have children, this particular transit may have really changed the way in which you're communicating with your children. It may have sort of brought up some challenges at some level where you may have realized, because the fifth house can have to do with your children, that you have to see the world actually through your children's eyes. And even though you may not like what it is that you see, this has changed your perspective on how you want to relate to your kids. And so this has been another big influence that I believe for many of you that you could be, diving into. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the Sun Mars square that is going to be happening from the 15th until about the 17th of March. And this is going to be a upswing in energy for you guys. This is going to happen between your fifth house and the sun still transiting through your second house. So this will have to do with money. This will have to do with any kind of competitiveness around money, but there's an upswing in energy, and it's going to feel like an overcoming in money, an overcoming in competitive or even challenges that have to do where you really have to step it up. And at some level, it's going to feel like a test or like a big cosmic joke, because a similar situation could come back here, because we're sort of finishing up with Mars and Gemini. A similar situation could be coming up here where, even in sports or even in something that you actually vibe with, because the fifth house has to do with stuff that you're vibing with, you could be diving into some, thing where it feels like this is so similar from what I've experienced before, and it brings up this level of being aware of arguments around money and competition, or feeling like that you need to express yourself in a particular way, or you have to really fight for what it is that you want. And it may actually be a time for you realizing that you may have been sort of always in this sitting in between, situations where you felt like you had to compromise, but now you realize this is not something you need to be compromising on. This is not something that you're going to, put up with anymore moving forward. So you have to sort of assert yourself and keep yourself grounded and stick to your own goals versus the ones that have been kind of put on you that you are gaining more awareness around. So this is really important because it's helping you see where you are not listening to yourself in a way. And then you become more caught up in the story of you reaching a particular goal, but in a way that is disregarding you being happy. And so that is really, really important. Another theme that I see that could be coming up here is you may have to stand up for yourself and finally clear the air. This can also have to do with authority figures or people that, are in your life that have played even a father figure at some level, or people that have sort of the sort of an authority and you've always listened to them, or you may even have looked up to that person, but you have to maybe stand up now for yourself. You have to clear your mind and say what's on your mind, and it's time to move on. But the way that you are maybe invited here to do it, and what I'm seeing and it looks like, is that Sun Mars square is an invitation to do it where you're clearing the air, and you're doing it in a way where you're speaking your mind and you're dealing with the situation head on. Really important, because the sun supports you and the productivity and money and keeping that worth conversation going. Super important here as well. Now, the third thing and the final thing that I want to point out with this Sun Mars square situation is that understanding where you let tension build up. When you talk about money, when you dive into making more money or feeling productive, or at the very basic level, it has to do with your worth, okay? Your worthiness, your sense of worthiness. Where do you let tension build up? Where do you not speak up? Because squares always invite us to break through, to deal with stuff. It's a challenge, but it's a challenge that can be taken on. And so for you, this has to do with your heart's desires, your fulfillment. Where do you need to get clear on what you're willing to put up with and what you're not willing to put up with? But when you are not speaking up, when you don't clear the air, then the tension builds up and it leaves you maybe in a place where you feel sort of, yucky about all of that. And it's just a lot of pressure and a lot of tension. And then you're dealing things with a way where you might be avoiding them or you're not, expressing yourself. And as a result, it just makes you feel, just holds you back. Right. And so here, I think the question is going to be, how can you address things sooner so that you don't let this tension build up on money, productivity, and things that you actually love and things that really bring you happiness? Where are you needing to address these things sooner? That, I believe, is the lesson here. You guys, that's a wrap on today's episode for all of my Aquarius rising and sun sign friends out there. Thank you so much for listening. Let me know how this month is unfolding for you. I love hearing from you guys. Leave me a comment below. If you're on the podcast version, you can always, shoot me an email as well. Just let me know. I always love hearing from you guys. You can follow me on all the platforms now at Island Sky Astro. Actually, that's not true. It's just on Instagram and YouTube, Island Sky Astro. I am working on a new TikTok account right now since I've been rebranding, but I will let you know what that name is going to be. I will see you guys back here in the next episode. Thank you so much for hanging out. See you soon.